Today's tropical weather update is brought to you by State Insurance Company Limited. Live in a better state of mind. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning. It's the 8th day in the month of October. Let's get right to it. So much to unpack with respect to Tropical Storm Jerry this morning. Let's turn our attention to the National Hurricane Center's homepage. Let's give you some perspective as to where Tropical Cyclone Jerry is right now. We're in the Leeward Islands, islands further towards the south, which include Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. You're looking at the Caribbean Sea, the Northern Atlantic Ocean. So in the context of where Tropical Storm Jerry is right now, we're looking at it right here. It's not way outside there. It's very close to us, just about 750 miles east-southeast of the Leeward Islands, and just about a little less than 500 miles or so towards the east of Barbados. But nonetheless, you're seeing where Tropical Storm Jerry is right now, and is forecast to move out very close towards the Leeward Islands during the next 36 hours. But I'm going to be unpacking a lot of details with respect to where it's at. So let's get right on to where it's at. Take a look at this shot. It's what we call the visible satellite imagery. It gives us really a close-up view as to what Tropical Storm Jerry is doing and its structure. Now, it's really in an environment that we call upper level shear, and the upper level shear is actually ripping it apart. Take a look at this picture. You would have thought that the center is someplace inside this cloud mass right here, but take a look at where the center is. You're seeing this swirl of clouds right up here. There is where the center is. The winds in the upper level of the atmosphere is just pushing all this cloud towards the south on the southeastern leg of the tropical cyclone. So all these clouds right here are producing considerable amount of rainfall and wind gusts, particularly out into the northern area. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to give you some perspective as to the structure of the storm. So as I go forward, I can develop what is forecast to do. So again, take a look at the center right here. All this area is the broad circulation. We're looking at the northeastern end right here. We're looking at the northwestern end. This is the southeastern end, and all this particular clouds right here are clouds that are associated with Tropical Storm Jerry. Again, in it, a lot of considerable amount of rainfall, gusty conditions mainly out here, and we're going to be focusing on this particular area and along with this particular spot right here. The reason why is because hardly any wind is in this general location, and as it moves on towards the west to northwest, this is the area that Antigua and Barbuda, the rest of the Leeward Islands and the islands of the Eastern Caribbean islands will be perched in. So most of the windy conditions will be over the open waters, and we will be in what we call the more sheltered part of the storm. So we're not necessarily looking for significant wind impacts, but yet there are some gusty conditions for us to talk about. At of 11 a.m. this morning, Tropical Storm Jerry was located near latitude 13.9 degrees north, 52.7 degrees west. That is just about 750 miles east-southeast of the Leeward Islands, Antigua and Barbuda included. It's racing towards the west to northwest. Take a look at this speed, 23 miles an hour, and is that particular speed that is really causing the low level center to be pushed out ahead of it, and then the upper level winds tearing it apart. So it's really not allowing to be considerating. So here is the winds. The winds have increased from 50 miles an hour up to 60 miles an hour as of 11 o'clock this morning, and the pressure is 1,003 millibars. Now, this particular shot is rather important as I just spoke to you about the structure of the storm. This particular dotted line is where it has been tracking. Take a look at where we are in the Leeward Islands right here. This particular yellow means that there are tropical storm watches or warnings for us to talk about. I will be talking to you about that in just a minute, but take a look at where it has been heading. The orange area really shows us where the windy conditions and the tropical storm force winds are located. Already you will realize that most of the winds are on the northeast, and again all down south in the southern quadrant. And this is rather important, because if we were supposed to drive this up towards the northeast, most of these winds will be over the open waters. Take a look at this little dent right here. As it moves on towards the west to northwest, Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the Leeward Islands are going to be really not in any wind at all, because there's hardly any wind in the southwestern quadrant. So as it moves on towards the northeast of the island, we are going to be in the sheltered part of the storm. That is certainly good news. However, there is a caveat to it, because the worst case scenario is also true. And as it moves on towards the west to northwest, it's very likely that the worst case scenario can bring the storm a little bit more closer to us in the Eastern Caribbean. As 11 o'clock this morning, this is where it was located. Forecast to remain a storm as it passes us, turning into a hurricane by that time is out to sea. But the islands of the Eastern Caribbean, look at how close we are to the center. We are expecting it to pass roughly between 80 to 140 miles to the northeast of the island chain. But this particular bend and curve is the saving grace that we are looking at for it to move on by. But again, the best case scenario is for it to follow this line right here and remain further offshore. That means impacts would lessen for us here in the Eastern Caribbean islands. But again, the worst case scenario is also true. It can actually track closer to the island chain, and if it does so, then we will be in a more stick of butter. But for right now, we're looking at it, maintaining a line that is in the center of this particular cone right here, and we're saying that there is sufficient confidence that we were looking for a track that is going to be taking it to the northeast of the island. Now, here is Tropical Storm Jerry's probability of tropical storm force winds on the island chain itself. We're not talking to you Trinidad and Windward Islands. You are out of this potential probability for right now. Take a look at where the center is, the purple area. This is where it's forecast to track, and as it moves on towards the northeast, the greater chance is for it to remain offshore. However, there is still somewhat of a 50% chance that we can see some tropical storm conditions, particularly in the islands of Barbuda and Anguilla, lesser so for the islands of Montserrat and St. Kitts. Nonetheless, we are in that particular cone of probability, and because of that, we are saying that there are a few tropical storm watches and warnings for us to talk about. A tropical storm watch means that tropical storm conditions, wind in the region of 39 to 73 miles an hour is possible within the watched area. It's not a warning. It does not necessarily mean that these winds are imminent or these winds will take place. It's a watch and to say to you that you should be in a state of preparedness that if these conditions come across us. So the island chain that our watches are in effect for Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla. We're looking at St. Martin, Sabre, St. Eustatius. Also, there is not a watch for the British Virgin Islands. Take a look at the color code. That color code says that the British Virgin Islands, you are in just a mere alert for right now, meaning that you're not in the stage of a tropical storm watch or warning, but nonetheless, there is a tropical cyclone in the monitored area that you should be paying closer attention to, but we are not forecasting any significant impacts for the island of the British Virgin Islands. These islands here are in the watched territory. During the course of the afternoon, we will be looking at whether or not a warning is necessary, but for right now, that is not on the docket, but we are saying to you that a tropical storm watch is in place for the islands of the Leeward Islands, including Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, and yes, a few other islands, which include Sabre, St. Eustatius, and some of the islands in Guadeloupe, etc. Now, take a look at the closest point of the center of the storm during the course of its passage. We're looking at Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Kitts, Nevis, Montserrat, and the British Virgin Islands. Well, the closest point to Antigua, when it's going to take place, it's going to be taking place 11 p.m. tomorrow evening, Thursday. Closest point, 100 miles. Closer to Barbuda, 80-something miles right there, roughly about 1 a.m. on Friday. Then Anguilla, we're looking at 130 miles to the northeast of Anguilla, just about 6 a.m. on Friday. St. Kitts, Nevis, Montserrat, and the British Virgin Islands. This information is for you to ensure that you have your plans. And you can see it just getting further and further away from the British Virgin Islands, and hence the reason why no water has been considered for the British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and those islands further towards the west. We continue to say Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Kitts, Nevis, and Montserrat. We want for you to make sure that you are paying closer attention to what is likely to take place. Wind impacts. What is it that we can be looking forward to during the passage of Tropical Storm Jerry? We're not looking for so much of a sustained conditions right now because we are likely to be in the sheltered part of the storm. Nonetheless, a few wind gusts in some heavier showers are also possible. Take a look at some of these wind impacts. We're looking at Antigua and Barbuda. Wind gusts sometimes up to 40 miles an hour. Montserrat, 25 miles an hour. It may be a little bit heavier. We're looking at on the more conservative side for Montserrat because the storm center is going to be further away from you, but yet still some spiral banding. If it is close and some of that spiral banding wraps itself around, then you can be in a little bit more stick of bother. Then for St. Kitts, Nevis, wind gusts up to 30 miles an hour is certainly a possibility. We're looking at Anguilla and the British Virgin Islands. Anguilla, wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour, certainly possible. British Virgin Islands, not accessible because we're not looking for those type of winds to come across you for right now. So pay closer attention to what the likelihood of the wind impacts are. No sustained winds not be looking for, but wind gusts definitely in the region of 40 miles an hour for us in Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the Leeward Islands. Take a look at what the impacts are likely to be. Let's talk a little bit more about the rain impacts. Again, remember that I showed you that graphic with respect to where the clouds are. Well, if those clouds do come across us, more rain. But for right now, because it's forecast to remain offshore, most of those clouds might remain offshore. So these rain totals might be on the conservative side, but if the track comes closer to us, a little bit more rainfall than we are forecasting. Antigua and Barbuda, particularly Barbuda, 1 to 3 inches of rain. We're looking at Montserrat, 1 to 2 inches of rain, particularly in spiral bandings. We're looking at St. Kitts, Anguilla, British Virgin Islands. We're looking at greater impacts for you here in the context of your rainfall. Marine impacts also, there are going to be some swell action. Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, and the British Virgin Islands. Swells will be between 6 to 8 feet. In British Virgin Islands, some swells might reach you just about 5 feet. This will make the coastline hazardous for sea bathing activities, particularly along the northeastern flank of the island. So pay closer attention to that. The Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services might be issuing a high surf advisory during the passage of Tropical Storm Jerry, particularly going on into tomorrow. Most of you would have woken up this morning to some cloudy skies in the region of St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, and the Antigua and Barbuda. Take a look at where we are. We're in the Leeward Islands, the British Virgin Islands. Take a look at all this cloud right here. Well, these clouds are not associated with Tropical Storm Jerry. Take a look at where Tropical Storm Jerry is, racing towards the west to northwest. We're here in Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the Leeward Islands, the British Virgin Islands, the islands of the Windward Islands, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago. Already you see where it is moving right like that. But these clouds are not associated with Tropical Storm Jerry. These clouds are an interaction between a weak tropical wave and an upper level trough, and that combination dumped us some rain over particularly St. Kitts, where we had to issue a flash flood advisory. That has since expired, but nonetheless we are seeing that the clouds are still there, and the forecast is for the wave to move on towards the west, decouple, and the clouds will get weaker and the shower activity will dwindle going on into this afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies nonetheless, but the chances of rainfall will become less and less. If you're in the southern Windward Islands, yeah, you're seeing some patches of low-level clouds. Some passing showers are still with you over the southern Windward Islands, not necessarily for Trinidad and Tobago. Remember, we're going to be keeping you closer, keep on our eyes closer to Tropical Storm Jerry and what it's likely to do. And as I say, if you're on the outside, and as Tropical Storm Jerry passes, remember to take a pic or two, send them to us. Your eyes are our eyes. Let me say thank you to all those who have been sending the pictures and the videos to us. We certainly welcome them. They are on our YouTube, they are on our Facebook side, and already you are sending great shots towards us. Hopefully in the future we can show some of those shots on our YouTube presentations. But if you're going to be on the outside, remember, during the passage of Tropical Storm Jerry, send those pics to us and the videos to abmsiwatch at gmail.com. We are your friends, the Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and on X. Take a look at your hotline number, your website information, and remember to continue to monitor with us and stay ready. The weather will always change, but you can keep weathering your weather in spite of the weather, whether you like it or not. I'm Leonard Josiah, wishing you a very safe passage of Tropical Storm Jerry. Today's tropical weather update has been brought to you by State Insurance Company Limited. Live in a better state of mind.